In terms of adjacencies, in terms of new launches, in terms of new verticals, what is the thought process at this point in time? Do you have enough on your plate, or are you looking at making some new fresh bets?
Okay, so it's a combination, but it's actually completely sticking to our strategy and principle, where we say that we will play in segments where we can leverage enterprise strengths. And we've also said that digital and sustainability are going to be mega trends of the decade. So anything that is linked to digital and sustainability and where enterprise strengths can be leveraged, it's on for us.
Okay.
Right. So there are two that are already in the play. There's a third that is almost baked, so I'll tell you in the near future. Okay. The two that are in the, one is I spoke to you about is ITC Mars.
Nice, right.
The second is sustainable packaging, where we are getting, we already have a range of products in the market, but I would say these are the simpler solutions. The little complex one, a lot of developmental work with internally and with global collaboration is in the pipeline.
Okay.
And besides that, of course, this whole principle within the FMCG vertical is really about scaling mega brands, using mega brands to address adjacencies, and developing new categories for the future. So that is ongoing, right? So what is happening there is that brands like Ashirwad and Sunfeast and Bingo, these are being scaled up. We already have about 6 brands which are up in the 1,000 crore plus club. Ashirwad is 7,500 crores, Sunfeast is 4,500 crores, and we're using that to address adjacencies, because even in our whole addressable market with our portfolio is about 5 lakh crores, has been estimated some by analysts, the highest in the FMCG space, I would say. Now, there is huge headroom to grow by penetration, and given the per capita levels of consumptions, even branded atta, for example, quarterly penetration is only 32. If I go to something like dark fantasy Chocofills or the dark fantasy range, it would be low single digits, right? So huge headroom to grow by penetration.
Right.
So whilst we are driving that for Ashirwad, we're also addressing new customer segments by getting into millet-based products under ITC Superfoods, organic. We're also getting into gluten-free, specialized offers, sugar release control. You
said that you've already got 6 brands. You named some of them that have crossed the 1,000 crore rupee milestone. How many more in the portfolio that are close or closer to the 1,000 crore milestone?
There are some more. There are some more. So we should add on to the club. Hopefully next year we should add on to that club some more. Yeah. Maybe a couple of them.
Okay. Yeah. A couple of them will get added onto the 1,000 crore plus club, as you said. But I just want to understand from you at this point in time, what we are seeing, and we're seeing large FMCG companies like yours, and you've done some as well, go the D2C route by way of acquisitions. How actively are you looking at the acquisition route to be able to fulfill getting into some of the adjacencies or some of the newer markets that you spoke of?
So it's like this. Let me say that I believe most categories are ultimately going to be omni-channel. D2C brands have developed some interesting propositions which are good to build on the D2C platform, right? Unique spaces, and some of them have very interesting ideas. So the spaces that are of interest to us, like mother and child, right? We will invest. We've done Mother's Purse, we've done Milo. So we are right now, of course, a financial investor. And as and when, the founders wish to divest and there is an opportunity and it is working out well, we have the option of, acquiring it. And that's something that we are looking towards doing. In the meantime, of course, we work with the startups and help them, provide them access to some of our institutional strengths that can help them scale up faster and accomplish their objectives. So we are certainly looking at this actively. At this point, we are in discussion with another brand in that space.
Okay. In the mother and child
space.
Okay.
So that's not the only space. There are some spaces we have identified. We have, and we would like to go that route, because these platforms have developed some unique propositions, and they also come really, when we have to acknowledge, they come with superior tech skills, right? Whilst legacy companies like ours are good at distribution, good at brand building, good at product development, and we are all aggressively pursuing a digital agenda, but we have to acknowledge the tech startups are certainly ahead of us as far as
the tech is concerned.
As far as tech is concerned.
Yeah.
So that also gives us an opportunity to, learn and bring in some of those practices in-house. Having said that, we will also do D2C on our own, and there are certain propositions which I think are really suited to D2C. For example, Meri Chakki Atta.
Okay.
And we've also got something like myclassmatesshop.com,
right,
where you can personalize your, so
stationery
personalization solutions will have to be enabled through a digital ecosystem.
Sure.
We've also got our D2C on Derma-Free kits on in the recent past.
Right.
So we will be doing selectively on our own, whilst we will also watch this space, because there are interesting, offers available and options available in that space.
We haven't spoken about the cigarette business, so let me ask you about the cigarette business now. In terms of volume growth, the expectation is that, you've seen a volume growth of between 7 to 9% quarter on quarter, and things have been stable, at least on the tax front, and there has been no surprise, a nasty surprise for you on the tax front. So what's the outlook as far as the cigarette business is concerned at this point?
So, as you know, we don't give guidance. So I will refrain from, as a policy, we don't do it. So I'll refrain from doing that. Let me put it this way, that given that the economic activities have normalized and the macros are stable, what we have seen in the past is that in such a situation, and let's remember that legal cigarette industry is only 8% of the tobacco consumed in the country. It's just 8%, right? Balanced is illicit or other formats, right? So we have seen that in situations like this, and that there is past data to show it out, the legal industry is able to claw back some volumes from the illicit trade, and I would say we are seeing some green shoots of that, and based on the past data, and it has happened many periods of time, I think that trend that trend has been demonstrated in the past. So one can only hope for that kind of trend to kind of continue. And it's good that, I'm glad that the government also is cognizant of the menace of illicit. To a fourth of the industry, cigarettes is illicit. So stability along with enforcement actions, and you must be reading about it almost every day on some seizures. I think it's certainly helping the legal industry to claw back.
Let me then ask you, at this point in time, you talked about belt tightening, and you said that you haven't tightened the belt as much as you have over the past year or so. How much more are we likely to see in terms of that? And, how worried are you about margins today? What would you qualify as the big risks, both to the demand outlook as well as the margins today?
I would think inflation is the big risk, because it's both on the energy side and on food. So that is the real risks as far as both margins and demand environment is concerned. Having said that, I think we should acknowledge the fact that the Indian government has managed the situation much better than how it has been managed globally. I think I would say we are much better placed. We are not isolated from the rest of the world. But we are managing it much better. So, but this is clearly a monitorable. The second monitorable is, of course, with the recession that is, at least in Europe, and it could happen in other places, that can also mute export. We are also hearing those signs. Yeah. And that, would have its impact on the economy. So that would be the second order of risk, I would say. But, we are once, inflation the spikes in inflation normalize. It is not at the abnormal levels that it's been in the past. I think we believe we still can continue to improve margins through a lot of interventions that we are doing. It's, for example, through digital. The way we buy today Industry 4.0 in the factories, in the supply chain. All facets are being optimized through digital technologies, and we are seeing benefits of that. Our distributed manufacturing of ICMLs, we have 10 of them now, and 2 of them already have integrated automated warehouses, which gives another productivity in logistics, right? So all of this with reduced distance to market, with the delayering of operations and the optimization efforts that we are taking, continuing to boost usage of renewable energy. So all that is, with that we do believe that the 1% or 100 basis points that we are talking about consistently improving margins year on year, I think we will be able to deliver it.
Okay.
I mean, this the last year and this year, I mean, we've not been able to do that simply because the level of inflation has been unprecedented.
Yeah.
So once this normalizes, I think we'll be back on track as far as that is concerned.
So let me end then by asking you, any changes to the org structure at all? There's been a lot of rumors about the possibility of splitting the chairman and the CEO's position. Is that on the cards? Is that being considered in any form or fashion at all?
I haven't heard this rumor. There's been no talk as far as ITC is concerned, but I don't know where you picked it up from.
I thought it's best to have you address it, but you believe that the festive season at this point in time, all indications that it's likely to hold up in terms of demand?
Yes, absolutely.
Sanjiv, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Appreciate your time, and thanks very much for joining us on The Record.
Thank you, Shireen, for having me. Always a pleasure.
With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of On The Record. From all of us here on the team, goodbye. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues.